Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. Today I'm going to show you a lot of products that I did not end up using. That's part of story time. But anywho, the products that I did use are these beautiful A2 birch tree, the top and the base dies, as well as the stencil, and then the Joy stamp set and dies. So here I am going to, this is just Nina 80-pound solar white cardstock. I am going to get my papers lined up correctly. You'll see here in the top right-hand portion of the frame, that's another die from Honeybee, which I love and was going to use, but it just didn't work out for me. And that's pretty much, like I said, what story time is going to be about this card, because we all make mistakes and we all have ideas in our head about how our cards are going to turn out, and sometimes it just doesn't come to fruition. It just happens. So here, my initial game plan, wait, we have to go back before we even get any further because it's only for 3 days. Honeybee is having a Christmas in July sale. It's 15% off all of their Christmas things, including the products that I'm using here. I will link that below for you to go over and check out. So it is the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th that they are doing the sale. So yeah, so that's that. Now, the original game plan for this card was I wanted to create this scene card. In fact, I even texted Lisa, who is part of Honeybee. I even texted Lisa and I was like, I have this whole extravagant scene planned for my Christmas in July card. And it just didn't happen. So here what I'm doing is I've chosen 4 different colors of distress ink. Originally, this was going to be like a kind of like a peekaboo card, like a window where you could open it and there'd be a scene on the inside as well. That's why you're seeing the masking tape there. That's to keep my front, the back of my front side of my card clean. But that ends up getting cut off. But anywho, so I'm just going to be layering on some colors. I used Speckled Egg, Salty Ocean. What was the other one? Oh, Mermaid Lagoon, and then Uncharted Mariner, which is one of the newest distress inks and has stolen my heart because you know blue is my boyfriend. This card is right up my alley as far as the color palette is concerned. But I spent a lot of time on it, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. I spent a lot of time trying to get this card to come together, and sometimes you just have to adapt and you just have to accept it for what it's going to be and learn your lessons to apply to the next card. Just because you're by yourself in your craft room making these things and they're not working out doesn't mean that you're alone in that. You're certainly not. And I'm going to show you. I will show you the idea that I had for the card and how I laid it out, but I didn't leave in all the pieces parts because when I loaded this footage, I had 2.5 hours of footage that I had to trim down, and the majority of it was just showing the concept that I didn't even end up using. So you guys know I like to do my distress ink blending twice because it gives me a really good blend. This is definitely more of a teal blue combination versus a purple blue combination. Usually my go-to for blues is a purple blue, where I have, like if I run a really light color, I would use Tumbled Glass, Salty Ocean, Blueprint Sketch, Chip Sapphire. That would be that combination for the purple blue. But now that the Uncharted Mariner is out, I don't know that that's going to be my go-to anymore because I kind of love this color combo. I'm kind of in love with it. So you tell me what you think. Here, you guys know when I do my stencils, I like to put Tombow Mono Multi-Glue on the back. I let it dry because it's repositionable when it dries. And then I go ahead and how I store them is I just stick them to the packaging on the outside, peel them off when I need them. Somebody had asked me, do you wash off the glue? I don't. Do you ever have to, do you reapply the glue every time? I do not. This is one of the first times I have ever had to reapply the glue to my stencil. And so you're seeing it here because I'm having to redo it. But all in all, it takes me about maybe 30 seconds to a minute, especially with something this simple, to add the glue on there. And then I just let it dry. And with this glue, you know it's dry when it's see-through. It's like transparent. It's white when it's wet, and it's clear when it dries. And so once I know that it's dry, I do like a little hand check and I tap it on my hand a couple of times to make sure none of the parts are still super wet. And once I know that I'm good from there, I can go ahead and put it down and then continue doing my ink blending. I'm going to use the same combination that I've already used. So this is tone on tone. We're going to have multiple layers to this card, combining our stencils with our die cuts. So we're going to have 2 layers of stencils, 2 layers of die cuts if you don't even count the sentiment. That's just for the background. I think it's really important to be able to use what you have on hand multiple ways. And so I actually did another card with this stencil and die combination. I'll link it at the end of the video. And in that one, I did use the Farmhouse Tree Builder, which I attempted to use this time as well. But that one I did successfully use it. So here, even though it doesn't seem like it would be getting too much darker because we're not doing a ton of ink blending, by adding a 3rd layer, and you don't have to blend it twice in the background. If you want it really light, then just do one time and then do your stenciling over that. And it's okay to do that even if it's splotchy because you got a lot going on in the background where you're adding these trees. It's not going to be super noticeable. You're breaking up the background. Somebody recently asked on, I think, my last video about, how much pressure I put down when I'm ink blending. I don't put down a ton of pressure. I'm probably a medium, light to medium, but it is why I go over it twice because I am a light to medium. A big thing for splotchiness is making sure that your ink pads are well inked and also making sure that you start off the page. If you start on the page, you are going to get like a big old circle. So we need to be conscientious of where we're starting and kind of swirling and circling onto the page. For this next layer of stenciling, I'm going even darker, so applying even more ink, and I skipped the speckled egg. So I brought my Uncharted Mariner even further down. I'm going to bring my Mermaid Lagoon down, and then I'm going to finish it off with Salty Ocean so that there's different levels of intensity in my little forest here, which I think is super cute. I think you could put little critters in here. I think that you could, well, I used it by itself. I mean, honest, I didn't add anything else to it. So you could put things in there or not put things in there, whatever you're kind of feeling. I think this would also look really pretty with like purples. You could do any color woods you want. It's your card. I've told you this before. Do what you want. It's yours. So here, I'm super happy with how the ink blending is coming out. I think it looks really pretty. And now, here, I'm going to show you just laying these on top without adding any shading to them whatsoever. Like, I do like the way that this looks, but I can't leave well enough alone. And so I'm going to do a couple more things just to bump it up a notch, just to zhuzh it a little. And so I'm going to do some ink spatters in the background, with my Perfect Pearls and with just clean water. So here's the clean water going down because these are reactive with water. It is going to put down some splotches in the background, and that is going to kind of mimic, I've said this before in my video, I've said this so many times in my videos, that's going to kind of give us a more subtle layer of the dots. And because I'm kind of going for like a snow falling in the woods kind of scene, and then for the Perfect Pearls, this is going to add some sparkly snow, some shiny snow, and then I'm going to do one more thing to add even more snow to it because, again, I can't leave well enough alone. You guys know this by now. So I'm going to set that aside to dry, and I'm going to work on adding some shading to the birch trees. This is my Misty sticky mat. And I was like, oh, I could probably use this because they're really fine, die cuts. I'm like, I could probably use this to hold that. Scratch it, guys. It didn't work. It didn't work. I'm not sure because it was sticky when I started, but I was adding, as I was adding the ink to it, it started to lose its stick in that area. It didn't stay like that permanently, but I'm not really sure why it did, but it did. And so that didn't work. If you wanted something to hold on to, you could just use a piece of like the Scotch masking tape. You'll see with the second birch layer, I didn't even hold on to anything. I just held it with my hand. So here I did the shaded lilac, which is more in that, obviously it's lilac. It's more in that purple. And then I'm going to add a little bit of shading with hickory smoke. This is my top layer. And so I left it a lot lighter than my second layer, just because it is on top. It would have more light. And then you can see like I'm adding little bits of shading and stuff to the trees, like one side of the tree, but not a ton. I'm really leaving like a center highlight point. So like I said, original game plan was like to create this perfect picture window with this beautiful woods scene and then have this Christmas tree and Christmas decoration. So it would be like the front of the card would be the inside of the house. And then when you opened it up, like you'd be able to see the window through it, you know what I'm saying? And then when you opened it up, you would have this beautiful kind of woods scene. But it just didn't come together. I didn't like the way that it looked, even though I had put in all of the work. I didn't like the way that it looked. And so while I'm not mad about it, because those other pieces are still pretty and I still like the way that they look together, I just didn't like the way that they looked with my woods background. And ultimately, when I weighed which one that I liked better, it to me made more sense to scratch the top of the card and just set aside those pieces parts for something else and use this, which was supposed to be the inside of the card, to create something that I really did love. Because this is me basically in life, period. Whether it's with card making or it's with dispatching or when I was doing the community policing, like if I'm going to put my name on it and put it out there, then it's going to be something that I am happy with and proud of. I will not just slap something together and just to get it done. Like I can't. It's just there. I'm incapable of doing that. So here we're layering those two up. I'm really loving the way that they look with that extra little bit of shading. If you choose to watch the other video, or maybe you've seen it, we're going to do the snow. So here I just have some white acrylic paint. This is super cheap white acrylic paint. I picked mine up at Walmart for like 69 cents or something. I added just a smidge of water, like 1-2 drops of water. And then I have a stiff bristled brush. And I used my finger to create my snow, but you could certainly do it off an acrylic block if you didn't want your finger to get dirty. And then I'm just I start by flicking off the paper when I first do it, just in case there's a ton of paint on there. I don't want it to get on my card. Then once I'm sure I have like a fine mist, I move it over to the actual card. Now here you can see what it looks like with none of these. And again, it's beautiful. I love the way it looks just like that with just the stenciling. But we're going to add some more texture and some more interest by putting these die cuts on. So what I was going to say was, if you've already seen the other card or you choose to watch the other card, in that other video, I did add some Copic coloring to these little birch trees, which is another option for how to use those. Unfortunately, I say that. I don't mind winter up until Christmas comes. And then once Christmas comes and goes, I'm over the snow. But I live in Northeast Ohio, and so basically I don't get to be done with the snow until April. And that's just, that's where my family lives, so this is where I'm at. But yeah, I would encourage you that even when something goes wrong, like it did for my card here, to look at it, see what parts about it that you love, and instead of, you can start all over if you want to. That is something that's totally up to you. I'm not willing to sacrifice the whole amount of time that I spent and walk away with nothing. So I pick the part that I like, the part that is my favorite, and then I adapt with that. So here, this is how the card was originally supposed to look. It would fold over there. And honestly, when I did the scoring, I should have left a smidge more room to make room for all that extra bulk, but I didn't. But anyway, so then I'm going to cut it off. I'm just going to cut off the top of it. So that's, again, love the wire trimmer on my little Fiskars guy. Makes it super easy to line up. And now I have a card panel that I'm going to turn into a card front. Here is the original idea that I had, okay, that I wanted the little tree with the star and kind of like the hanging holly and the frame, but I don't like it. I don't like it. And it's okay. So now that I know I'm going with this, I wanted to do the joy shadow and the words in white, but I didn't have a color cardstock that would match. And so I'm going to make it. You guys have seen me do this before with my distress inks. Now, normally I would flip the ink over on top of the paper and just kind of rub it around, but I didn't want to have to get my craft mat back out. So I kind of cheated it a little bit because it was such a small piece by rubbing it on there. And then I'm going to cut the word joy out of white. And I'm also going to do some heat embossing on my blue, my Uncharted Mariner cardstock that I just made. Ta-da! So I am going to make sure, you'll see, I'm going to use the heat tool to make sure that's super dry before I do my heat embossing, because distress inks are made to be embossed with, so you want to make sure they're super dry, especially with such a heavy ink application. Yeah, I have a very hard time just putting something out there just to put it out there, because to me that feels very disingenuous. It feels kind of like, I don't know, like I'm doing my followers or my fans. It sounds so silly because I feel like we're friends, not fans, but whatever. Like I'm doing you some sort of disservice by not giving you the best version of myself, the real authentic version of myself. And if I don't like something, I'm honest about that too, because it's important. It's important to me to be honest. So yeah, anyway, that kind of got off topic. So now once I'm sure that this is dry, I am going to line up my sentiments in the areas of that I have room to fit them. You could certainly do another piece of cardstock if you weren't lazy like me, but I am, and I embrace that portion of myself. I am going to use Honeybee's clear embossing powder to stamp this down, and then I am going to heat stamp it in white. I did want to make one note, because I'm not sure if everybody knows this. Honeybee actually carries everything that I used to make this video. And I don't know if that's widely known or not, but they carry all of the distress inks, all of the distress oxides. They carry this embossing powder that I'm using. They carry their little gems are their brand. But they have the cardstock, they have paints, they have watercolors. Like they're almost like a full mini craft store in addition to carrying their own brand. They started with their own brand, and then as customers were purchasing, they were like, hey, it'd be great if you carried X. So then she started carrying it. So they really can be kind of like a one-stop shop for your crafting, and I try to split it up amongst a lot of small businesses when I'm spending my money. So I buy from Ellen, I buy from Honeybee, if I need something that is less common in the crafting world, I buy from Blick Arts. That's where I get my Copics. But yeah, so there's just a lot in the store. If you've never been over to check it out, it's really very easy to get the things that you need. Or want, like me. I just wanted this Uncharted Mariner ink, and I still got to get the oxide. So now here, I'm just going to go ahead and put down my sentiment. I did glue the joy portion flat as can be on this much texture, because we have so many cardstock layers. But I really genuinely do like the way that this portion of the card turned out. Was I a little disappointed that it didn't come out the way that I saw it in my head? Yes. But had I known in my head that the woods portion of the scene was going to be so pretty, I don't know that I would have wanted to cover it up in the first place. So here I did pop up my little label portion of the sentiments on foam. I felt like that wishing you was kind of out there on a ledge by itself. So in order to rein that in, I am going to use some clear gemstones to kind of bridge the gap. So I'm going to put some on the left-hand side, some closer to the joy, and then some on the right-hand side by the and piece. I can't do anything without adding more clear shimmer. You guys know this. And so I just picked one side of the trees to add it on, as if the snow was kind of glittering on the trees. And then that is it. That's the whole card. So I hope that you are encouraged to know that everybody makes mistakes. I hope that you are encouraged to know that not everybody's card comes out the way that they thought it was going to. And that you are also have more faith in yourself to adapt. And I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.